Hello again. My name is Sarah Zuber, and I'm a mental health therapist and practicing in Portland, Oregon. And I'm recording some short videos to help share some of my favorite anxiety management tools during this uncertain time. Today, I'll be sharing a tool from cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's a way to identify the thoughts that might be triggering or fueling anxiety, and how to restructure that thinking style so that it's more helpful to your mood. So let me launch a PowerPoint here and I'll share it with you. All right, here we go. So this is based on the work of Aaron Beck. Aaron Beck is the founder of cognitive behavioral therapy. So this is the ABC model, and A, B, and C all stand for something. A stands for activating event, which is the situation or the event that happened, the triggering event. And B stands for beliefs or automatic thoughts or your interpretation of what the situation is, what it means about you, what it means about others, what it means about the situation. And then C stands for consequences, and that's how you feel and what you do or what you avoid doing, as is often the case with anxiety. So this happens in this order. We go through this chain of events many times a day. Any situation that we walk into, we have some beliefs or automatic thoughts, some interpretation about what's happening, and it's based on that interpretation how we feel and what we do or what we don't do. And that's why something can happen and everyone has a different response. It's all the same A, but different C's. And the reason for that is the part in the middle, the interpretation, the meaning that we take from that, what's happening and how we think about it, that determines how we feel. So let's go through an example. All right, grocery store employee sighs after being asked if there is no toilet paper. So that's just the facts. You ask the grocery store employee if they had any other toilet paper because you didn't see any on the shelves, and they go, and you're thinking, a million things probably are going through your mind, flashing quickly, but one might be, this person's exasperated with me. And there are many. The thoughts are automatic because they take zero effort on our part. They just flash in our brain rapid fire. And often it's hard to even recognize what's going through our mind, but here's one. And then the resulting emotion and behaviors would be, you might feel hurt. You might feel guilty that you even asked. And that would prompt you to avoid asking other questions because you don't want that same reaction. Okay, so the second piece of this is identifying the thinking style that's at play here. We all have 2 or 3 patterns of thinking that are kind of our go-tos, or maybe even more than 2 or 3. But there are a number that are identified in cognitive behavioral therapy, and I pulled out a few that are particular to triggering or fueling anxiety. All right, so the first one is catastrophizing. And this is also called forecasting negative or negative forecasting. It's expecting disaster. You hear about a situation and start imagining the worst possible outcome. Okay, another thinking style that can trigger or fuel anxiety is personalization. Believing that what others do or say is a direct reaction to you, that you are the cause of how they are responding. Another one is overgeneralization. So believing because something happened once or a few times, it will happen over and over again as a rule. That because it happened once, now next time it'll happen. Okay. Filtering. This is selectively paying attention to the negative and disregarding the positive in a situation. In other words, over-focusing on what is wrong and dismissing or disregarding the positive, what went right, or sort of placing more importance on the negative and placing less importance on the positive in a situation. And then lastly, mind reading. This is believing you know another person's thoughts, feelings, or intentions when they have not stated them directly. This is, imagining what people are thinking. Okay, so going back to this example with the grocery store employee, that sighs after being asked if there's toilet paper, and you think this person's exasperated with me. What thinking styles do you think are at play here? And there can be more than one. In this case, I think that it's mind reading, that you're imagining that the grocery store employee is exasperated with you. That's mind reading. And another one is personalization, that it has anything to do with you at all. Okay, so knowing that those are the thinking styles or the cognitive distortions that are happening, the next step is cognitive restructuring. So what else might be true about this situation that would be more helpful to your mood? Not that you might be 100% correct. It might be 100% accurate that the reason the grocery store employee sighed is because they're exasperated with you personally. But it's not helping your mood, and there are other possibilities or other truths about this situation that would help you feel less anxious. All right, so we can brainstorm again a lot, but one might be, this could be a reaction to me, or maybe this person is tired, or maybe thinking of something else entirely. I don't know, and I can only make guesses. With mind reading, you can't know. You can only make guesses. Even if you know the person better than anyone in the world, still you cannot know with certainty what they're thinking unless they have stated it. And to soften, with the personalization, soften that. More flexible thinking would be maybe this, but maybe that. Okay, so if you thought this instead of the first one, you might feel still hurt because the sigh, it's still a little hurt maybe, but maybe more compassion. And the behavior, you might be more inclined to express that compassion, like, wow, you must be really tired. I know you're working hard right now. Or you might, if it's a person that you know better, you might check out assumptions like, hey, I heard you sigh, and I'm imagining that you might feel exasperated with me. Is that right? Do I have that right? And then they can clarify that for you. Okay, so that is cognitive restructuring. Let's go through one more example. Your husband's coworker's wife tested positive for COVID-19. One thing, many things probably go through your mind on hearing that information. Those are the facts. Your beliefs, thoughts, and interpretations one of them might be, we're all going to get COVID-19 now, get hospitalized, and maybe even die. We know that this is a condition with a high morbidity, mortality rate. So there is a possibility of hospitalization, and people have died. So the resulting emotions and behaviors, would make sense that you would feel panic or an intense anxiety, and even request that the husband quarantine himself at a hotel. People are doing that. People are staying away from their families right now if they think they've been exposed or they have been exposed. So this chain of events, this is very relatable right now. However, that intense anxiety and panic isn't helpful. It's not helping your mood or your well-being. So identifying the thinking styles again, here they are again, some of the ones that are more common for triggering or fueling anxiety. What do you think it might be, that one? Okay, so that's the replacement already. So I think this one's catastrophizing. You're expecting the worst case outcome. You're imagining the most disastrous outcome you can think of. And your brain just does it. It's no fault of your own. Okay, so if we are thinking about cognitive restructuring, what else is true about this situation, or what else is possible? You might be 100% correct that you're all gonna die and hospitalized. What's the likelihood of that? It's even hard to say the likelihood, but I don't think there's been any cases so far that the whole household has gone down. But I don't know. It might be 100% accurate. It's not helping your mood. And there's other ways of thinking about this situation that is more helpful and also very possible. Here's one. We don't know who was exposed to whom at what point in the timeline. Was the coworker at work before, or did your husband have contact with the coworker before or after the wife had even contracted the virus? We don't know. We don't know if his coworker is a carrier at all. Even if they're exposed, it doesn't guarantee that they're a carrier to work. And the fact is, we'll deal with whatever happens when it happens. Knowing that information now does not help you prepare, but you do know that you will deal with whatever happens. And there's no helpful point to worrying about it now. And if you did think that instead, you would still feel some anxiety, but maybe it turned down the volume a little bit on that anxiety. And an action you might take would be to consult a medical professional and follow their advice. That would be reasonable. All right, so that's the end of my presentation today. And I hope you found that to be helpful. You can go through that exercise with anything that you feel an emotional reaction to. Pause for a moment and say, why am I having this reaction? What's going through my mind right now? What do I believe about this situation? Write down the thoughts, all of them, everything that's going through your mind, write them down. Make that 3 columns, the activating event, all the thoughts, just do a brain dump of all the thoughts. See if you can identify what the thinking style is and how to challenge that with some other possibilities. I like to think, okay, I have this negative thought. I'm going to make my brain come up with 3 other possibilities. And it's hard to do. It's easy to do when it's somebody else's thought. It's hard to do on our own because our brains are wired a certain way and they know to find that path over and over again. And to think a different way takes a lot of practice. You have to really be intentional. Write it down. When you're feeling less emotional reactivity is a good time to do it because you can access that more logical part of your brain when you're not feeling so activated. So sit down, write down an activating event, write down all your automatic thoughts, write down how you felt and what you did or avoided as a result of that. And label them, label the thinking styles, and then brainstorm at least 3 other possibilities. And maybe even circle the one that's the most powerful or the most believable for you. The more you practice this, just like going to the gym and working out your muscles, the stronger you'll get at it. The more you practice this tool after the fact, the more likely you are to have access to the tool in the moment in the future. It's a skill like any other skill. You have to practice and practice and practice. There is an app for that. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone. There are many apps. One I like is called the Thought Diary, and it's a blue icon with a notebook. It's free, and it walks you through exactly that sequence. And there are some, it spells out what the cognitive distortions are, so you can point to it, like click on it. Tap, that's the word I'm looking for. Tap on it. And it also can sometimes give you some ideas for how to challenge that negative thinking. Yeah, CBT Thought Diary. Let me see if I can get it up to the camera there. It's that blue one on the bottom. See, I have a lot. Thought Diary. Okay. Well, thank you for listening in. And I plan to post more videos as the days go on. And I hope you found this helpful. And stay safe and healthy out there. Bye-bye.